I can't retire early because of healthcare. I hear that all the time. And please, if I could ask one thing of you, it's to not cheat yourself. Healthcare is not the reason to not retire early. Yes, there are changes coming, which I'm going to talk about today. Yes, healthcare can be a significant expense, but it's not the reason to write off your retirement. And I see way too many people who are in a good position to retire early who don't just because of healthcare. Once again, it can be significant. I've seen cases where people are spending $30,000 per year from the time they retire until Medicare kicks in. And I've seen other people who plan really strategically 5 years before they retire, and they're spending $50, $100 a month in retirement. Now, there are some big changes coming, which I'm going to talk about today, but hopefully this takes away some pressure and allows you to go, wow, I think I'm in a better spot than I think, and I don't believe in sugarcoating things. I joke that I'm the meanest advisor on YouTube. I promise I'm not mean. I'm very transparent. I don't want you mad at me if you retire too early and run out of money, obviously. And I don't want you mad at me when you're 80 with $5 million going, hey, that was not my goal. Why didn't I retire earlier and spend more money when I had my energy and my health? And that balancing act is what I want to help you with. It's what I love to do. I'm a CFP. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Root Financial. Let's get into it. Here's what many of you are worried about, and it's valid, but let me explain. So you can see here KFF, which is the go-to place for healthcare if you're unaware for retirement planning. How much will ACA premium payments rise if enhanced subsidies expire, which they are going to expire? That is going to happen. Well, you can see there's a huge article here that I'm going to simplify for you. In today's video, you're going to understand what you need to know when it comes to paying for healthcare. You can see they have examples here, and they're giving it really simple. What if you're a 60-year-old couple and you make $82,000 a year? Well, you want to make sure you're looking at your healthcare going, okay, can I still afford to retire? So here's what you need to know. You can see the expiration of these enhanced premium tax credits would mean that people with income over 4 times the poverty level are no longer eligible for financial assistance. Prior to this, the marketplace, ACA marketplace, it capped at 400% of poverty, which is $60,240 for a single person or $81,760 for a couple. If these expire, which it's no longer if, they will, marketplace enrollees making just above 400% will encounter what's called the subsidy cliff, and you would face the full price of a marketplace plan. Now, that's what a lot of you are worried about. Yes, so what do I do? We're going to talk about that. So that was KFF. This is Reuters going over U.S. health insurers seek the largest jump in Obamacare premiums since 2018. This was a few weeks ago, explaining insurers are proposing a medium premium increase of 15% for 2026. And you can see in recent years, premiums in the plans have been relatively flat or grown only modestly. This is a big change. So to use an example, this is a client case. This is a couple that's 55 and 54. They're worried about healthcare. They were planning on retiring at 62. Now they're thinking differently. Their plan looks good. You can see they have $225,000 in the bank. Now, I believe that's too high, and we've talked about that. But they have $1.4 million in investable assets, 401k, IRA, Roth, and then they own their home. So that's their current strategy. This is a real case. Obviously, if these are not your numbers, it's not exactly going to be your situation, but it might be close. And the same logic applies. So they were asking me questions about these changes. In a 55-year-old couple above 400% of the federal poverty line, you could face an average increase of $3,800 annually. That's for a benchmark silver plan, or even more depending on your location. These are averages because there's a lot of different moving pieces here. Rules in 2026 raise family out-of-pocket max to as much as $21,000, individual caps around $10,000, a 15% rise over 2025 levels. Important disclosure here, as always, these estimates, they really depend on zip code, which plan you select, actual MAGI, which is modified adjusted gross income, but they reflect 2026 costs with subsidies for couples earning under 400% of the federal poverty line. So the question is, what do you do? That's what many of you are wondering. Well, what you do is you plan early and you get that superhero account up and running. What do I see way too often? People who are qualified rich and cash poor, meaning they've saved and invested so well to these pre-tax accounts that when you withdraw from them, you pay ordinary income taxes. If instead you, for example, invest well, your 401k is now in a healthy position, you still get your employer match, which is the free money, and the rest starts going to your brokerage account because you can pull from that, keep your taxable income really low. You pay capital gains taxes, which is lower than ordinary income taxes. Yes, I get excited about this because it's a big deal that I'm about to show you. And now you can save huge amounts on healthcare. Look at this. So just an example here, say you draw $80,000 from a brokerage account. You could be in the 2 to 5K range per year. That's significantly less than $20,000 a year. Now, how is that the case? Well, if you pull from a brokerage account, you don't have to pay ordinary income taxes. You're on capital gains. And pretend you pull from a brokerage account and the majority of your income is not gains. For example, pretend you bought Apple stock for $80,000, now it's worth $100,000, and you take all $100,000 out. Well, $80,000 of that's your own principal. The other $20,000 is capital gains. So you just created $100,000. If you have a very small tax liability, you might be able to still have millions of dollars in the bank and not have to pay crazy amounts in healthcare. So where do I start? When it comes to all healthcare planning, the first thing is I want you to understand how healthcare works in retirement. So if you look up Ari Taublieb healthcare, I'm doing it with you, you can see. There's one video I did with Move Health. Her name is Lindia. You can see this is just, it's all you need to know, but it doesn't have the most recent changes. But if you want to understand silver plans, gold plans, platinum, what are the different options, where I can go, this is a good place to start. And a lot of you resonated with this big video. Now from there, that's where I encourage you play around with your own plan. And here's one of my issues with the software. It's amazing. I mean, I highly recommend you use it, but it's taking into account estimates. That is not you. So what it's saying is if we're going to plan for healthcare before 65, from the time you retire, you can take the national average. So that's about $6,400 every year. Now, the reality is it could be more than that. It could be way more than that. So this case that I'm showing you right now is a couple who's 55 and 54. And assume that they work until 62. That's when they retire. They're projected to have $5.5 million. Why? Because they're living on $4,000 a month. They didn't include travel or extra healthcare. They have healthcare, but not extra. So pretend you go put $25,000 a year of travel on their plan. Okay, well, that's going to change things in a good way, meaning they enjoyed their retirement more. And now there's $4 million at the end. And I'm getting very hyped up right now, if you can't tell. And I do not drink coffee, which some of you are like, you definitely do. I promise I don't. This stuff is so powerful and fun to me because it's a big deal. And you might be able to literally look at this and go, wow, I'm in a way better spot than I thought. So pretend you have a balanced portfolio. A balanced portfolio is, we're talking 5-6% growth. Then we're putting $25,000 a year more on travel. So $50,000 a year, let's add another 25. So now here's someone spending $75,000 a year, plus we're putting in a base of another 6,000. Let's just call it 6,000 for simplicity between two spouses. Let's just call it 12. We'll round up, say 13. Okay, well, we're looking at $88,000 now for this couple in retirement. Okay, well, the reality is, even if they don't invest in the most optimal fashion, there's still $2.1 million at the end, assuming they work till 62. Now, maybe they go, well, those healthcare estimates, that's what we were planning on before, but now we're worried. We want to put $10,000 in there for each of us because maybe we're going to have to pay that every single year. Okay, do it. Go put that in there. See what it does to the plan. Yes, there's less dollars. There's $1.5 million at the end, but they're still okay. So the first thing is no matter what changes in healthcare, go run your plan and see, could you be okay without it? Let's just pretend for a second. They are like, we want to spend $15,000 as our plan for healthcare. We want to go ultra worst case scenario, and we want to spend $50,000 a year on travel. Just pretend you said that, okay? Well, if you said that, I'd say that's awesome. I want you to enjoy your retirement, but I don't want you to run out of money. So right now you would plan on running out of money at 89 years old, which I don't want to be the case. So you have a few options. Option one is you can work longer. How does that sound? Work till 65. What do you think they're going to say if I say that? My clients would be like, well, we don't really want to work till 65. I go, I know, but you could. And you could see it would put you a lot closer. There'd be about $500,000 at the end. But if you don't want to do that, let's not do that. Let's put you back to 62. And then they go, yeah, I mean, we could spend less on travel, but really $50,000 is our dream. Just pretend they said that. Okay, well, you could choose to take more of an aggressive approach and say, we're comfortable with more volatility if it means retiring earlier. Beautiful. Well, now look, there's 1.6 million at the end. So healthcare is start with worst case scenario, then of course plan well. Like we're going to plan well, but always make sure at a minimum you're looking at this going, okay, if for whatever reason I don't optimize my healthcare, I'm still going to be okay. Now, the truth is a lot of you're like, well, we don't have these assets. So what do we do? Or other people go, well, we have so much, these changes don't really apply. The reason that this particular couple is not in an optimal fashion is of what you can see right here. You know the example I gave before of 80,000 that grew to 100 and live off of that? They can't really do that. You can see here their 401k is 1.3 million. They have 63 in a Roth, 50 in a health account, and 61 in a brokerage account. So I would almost wish they had less in this 401k. Why? They're qualified rich, cash poor. If they had 300,000 more in a brokerage account, we could keep their healthcare income lower, focus less on those Roth conversions I talk about, save them a ton on healthcare, enjoy their retirement. And I mean, imagine you're saving 15,000 a year for 5 years from 60 to 65. That's $75,000. That's a big deal in healthcare. So what I want to make sure is you're all not just making the mistake of, yes, max out your 401k and never stop. You're looking at healthcare going, how can I massage my income to the best of my ability to qualify for any sort of subsidy? And how can I look at it through this lens of, well, I choose how I create my income. I'm going to pull from my brokerage account, and maybe the rules change again, and at that point, my brokerage account is still there to help me out. Maybe you go, everything's in a 401k. I'm going to work 3 more years, more than I thought, because I see healthcare, if I don't, is going to cost me $10,000 a year for both myself and my spouse. So because of that, we're going to work 3 more years, but it's very clear why we're working now. Now it's working for 3 more years so that we can officially retire, and we know we're in a great spot. So get clarity. Get honest with yourselves. Healthcare changes, they're going to keep coming. So there's questions around Social Security. To what degree will that be there when you retire? There's questions around investment returns. Can we count on our portfolio to do what it's done in the past? There's questions on healthcare to go, wow, what changes are coming next to Medicare? And oh my God, what about those IRMA surcharges and taxes? There's so much to this. This is what we love to help clients with. So hopefully this was a taste. I encourage you can use the software that I showed you today, or you can, of course, reach out to us. This is what we love helping people with here at Root Financial. We do holistic financial planning, the healthcare, the taxes, the estate planning, the insurance. This is what we love getting to do so that you can have what we call the sign of a good financial plan, which is a life well lived. See you guys next time.